What's up, peeps? What's up, what's up, what's up? Y'all, everybody doing okay? Put my glasses on, can you see? Can't see a damn thing. I should do snowy cities. Oh, I don't know about that. I don't know about the snowy cities. I moved to Miami to get away from the snowy cities. Loon and let the rant begin. Always, you already know. Naomi, I'm doing pretty okay. By the way, interestingly enough, you have my sister's name. That's my sister's name is Naomi. Her little badass. I love her to death, but she's bad. All my sisters are bad. They smart. They just bad, all of them. They're all successful too. They're just bad. Shane Mora, Pat Hacker. Rui Masagua, what's going on? Good to see you back. Kim. RY, what's going on? What's going on? I'm gonna make some quick announcements before we get started. Grant McDaniel, what's going on? E-E-E-G-G-G. Triple E, triple G? Is that what we're gonna go with? Make sure y'all like the video and share it. A dingo ate me, baby. Avalon 19, what's going on? By the way, been really appreciating the super chat love and all the Patreon love lately, and the people who've been donating on PayPal as well. I really appreciate it. You guys have no idea how far that goes because you know we're in the heat of the election season, right? So videos nowadays are getting demonetized left and right. I actually texted Kim Iverson. Many of you are familiar with her. Like 2 days ago, I was joking with her because I saw her Syria video, which I was very happy she did. And I was like, so how long did it take you to get demonetized for that Syria video you did? She said, oh, immediately. It was immediately demonetized. If you have the word Syria in your title, you're immediately demonetized because it's a way for them to essentially, it's a mode of censorship because they're disincentivizing you from speaking about quote unquote controversial topics that shouldn't even be controversial because the facts are right there for everybody and all to see, but they're controversial because they're against the mainstream establishment's narrative, the military industrial complex's narrative. We also had like basically half of my, initially all of my Biden videos get demonetized, like initially. Eventually, some of them get remonetized, but it's like 2 or 3 days later, so it doesn't matter anymore. So like when I tell you it's It's extremely helpful and continues to help the show grow. When y'all donate via Patreon or Super Chat or PayPal, we really, really do appreciate it, because that's how we can keep bringing the truth to you all. Convo Couch, what's going on? I'm guessing that's pasta. I bet that's pasta. It's probably pasta. Kathy Lloyd, what's going on? Freedom Tribe. K Prima, 108, loving the show, Niko. Love from Canada. Woo, it's too cold up there. Got a lot of love for y'all Canadians, though, man. Y'all know I'm a huge Drake fan. I feel like Drake's my spirit animal. my brothers and my friends always tell me that I'm the Drake of politics. See, told y'all it was pasta. Y'all, if y'all have not yet, you can definitely donate to the GoFundMe link to help us get to San Francisco, where we get to pester some pesky Democrats at the California convention. All the presidential candidates are going to be there, and Pasta's probably going to be doing a lot of the interviews because, well, I'll probably be kicked out halfway through the first day. I'm going to try to be on my best behavior. I'm going to try. We'll see, though. Said Drake need to get off the court. Man, look, I'm a huge Giannis fan, so I know that any team Drake cheers for can't win a championship. And so I'm really happy that he's on the court right now. I need him to be courtside for the rest of the series. I need Giannis to go ahead and prove to everybody that he's the best player in the world, so people can get off LeBron's Johnson. So I think it's Bucks and 5, actually. To Niko, that mug I shared on Twitter, dude said $3 per mug go to Tulsi. Oh, really? I didn't know that. Magalo Laulu, what's going on? What's going on? Nathalie, you are a Patreon donor, and I appreciate that. Please don't get kicked out. Try super hard. I'm going to try. I'm going to try. I'm just really, 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 really bad at, I'm composed when it comes to speaking. I'm composed when it comes to dealing with like crazy situations. But when somebody look me in my face and try to feed me bullshit, I'm just really not good at that type of composure. Neither is Fiorella, so just to let everybody know, don't just blame me. That's why Pasta is the guy who's going to keep me and Fee at bay while the Democrats try to feed the entire convention bullshit. And we're told, unite behind the Dems. Yeah, okay. Don't nominate Tulsi or Bernie and see how that works out. 76ers fan here. You crying like Embiid? Gabriel Akari, appreciate it. Thank you very much. Keep up the good work. Sending love from Sweden. Look, Gabriel, how many rooms you got in your house? Because if Bernie or Tulsi doesn't win this election, might be moving in, dog. I might be moving in. I know Sweden's cold, but whew, look, I don't know how many. I know Miami's kind of like a different country anyway, but like I don't know how long our country's gonna be here if they lose. So yeah. Real quick, some quick announcements before we get started. I don't know if you all have noticed. Some of you probably have at this point, but I've changed the format of my show, at least, like just Mikasa Sukasa segment. I will be almost exclusively live streaming from now on. There's a plethora of reasons for that, but I've noticed that a lot of people who watch my show watch it while they're at work. They watch it while they're, not watch it while they're driving, but they're basically watching it through long stints throughout the day, and they're constantly looking for regular content updates and things like that. And so I decided, instead of maybe uploading a bunch of content, like maybe 2 videos in the course of maybe 4 or 5 hours, I would instead live stream in consideration for you all who are really constantly looking for the political updates. So now you don't have to go to Twitter to figure out what hot topic it is, because I'll be reacting to it in real time here on YouTube and on Twitch. I'm actually going to be streaming from Twitch probably starting tonight. So I'll be multicasting from Twitch. And if you are a supporter or a fan who wants to just have, like, I'm just going to be live streaming from Twitch sometime just to interact with the fans, to answer whatever questions you may have of me, about whatever's going on in politics at the time, whatever. If you want my opinion on something, I don't mind giving it out. And Twitch will be the area where I will do that exclusively, but I will also be streaming the breaking news updates and things like that. So that way you won't be caught out of the loop. You always have something to watch. I'm very grateful for our Patreon subscribers. And I know a lot of you all, you pay to get a show and, constant and regular content. And I want to be in the best position to give that to you. And live streaming, it makes it's a swifter process for me personally, which makes it quicker to get to you all. And it's, I just like the interaction better. I love interacting with the supporters. I don't know if I told y'all this story, but I met a supporter in Burger King right down the street from my house. I bullshit you not. It was funny. Really cool guy. And we talked. I was supposed to be doing a show at that point. I got sidetracked. We talked for about an hour and a half in the parking lot of Burger King. Because I learned so much from you all. I love hearing what you all have to say. I love hearing what the people have to say, because the people are really going to be the ones that determine the outcome of this election and our future in general. And so I feel like when people are trying to tell people what we should be doing, how about we should listen to what the needs are of the people and go from there? Because it seems like the people who have the highest propensity to preach at people, the moral high ground, you should pick the lesser of two evils because it's what everybody wants and what everybody needs. But the people who always say that seem to be rich and don't really need anything and haven't really come from a background other than one that they've always had health care, one where they've no matter what the status quo is in politics, their families have always been successful, whether it be from generational wealth, whether it be from just, certain privileges that come with living in certain parts of the country and your parents having certain jobs and certain networks and certain connections. These people are the main ones that are telling you, and none of them have political degrees except for maybe one of them that I think of. And he's usually right. None of them have ever been involved in politics, and yet they're constantly trying to tell people, not inquire, not ask, not say let's come up with a solution together. Let's figure out how to address these issues at a foundational level. They always just saying, no, vote for this person. Vote for the Dems. Republicans are always bad. Democrats are always good. Jill Stein's a Russian asset. Blah, 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 and wagging their finger at you. And I don't like that. I like talking to supporters because y'all have a feel for what's really going on. Not everybody, I'll listen to everybody, but not everybody got that feel. So, so that's what so you're going to be seeing maybe, some before I go to California for the convention, definitely more after I get back from the convention. But you will be seeing regular updates throughout the day live. So with that being said, make sure that you are constantly checking. Just go ahead and set, if you have a Safari or whatever you use, Google Chrome, whatever, just go ahead and set your home page to MCSC's YouTube page, to this YouTube page, because it's highly likely that I will be live when you go back and check. Because that's what we're going to be doing from now on. So, want to do the super chat real quick before. Cool. So Shane Mora, thank you for the truth. Now, thank you all for loving the truth. Greatly appreciate it. Really, I really, really do. It's nice to know that I'm not crazy. Right? It's always nice to know when you're not crazy. So, all right. So now that we got that out of the way, I feel bad for everybody who's going to watch this after, but I'll edit all that other stuff out. All right, good stuff. So, what's going on, everybody? Thank you all so much for tuning into this live stream segment of Mikasa Sukasa, and I am, of course, your humble host, as always, Niko House. Today, we have a very special piece to read. I don't know quite how special it is, but it was enough. It was special enough for Tulsi's sister, to send me this link, because she was just as surprised that it was printed in the Rolling Stone as I was. It's an article that says, we've hit a new low in campaign hit pieces. Recent efforts to sandbag Bernie Sanders and Tulsi Gabbard are crude repeats of behavior that helped elect Trump in 2016. Now, wait a minute. Because I've seen some pieces in Rolling Stone that have not necessarily been favorable to either Bernie or Tulsi. And very rarely have I seen them really push a progressive message or, the unmitigated truth about what's happening in the Democratic primary elections. And so for this article, because I haven't seen it, I hadn't seen really anything like this in quite some time from Rolling Stone, I decided I am going to do another live reaction. I've not read this article. The only thing I read was the title, because I wanted to react at the same time y'all reacted. Because I know a lot of y'all are going to be seeing this for the first time too, because the article literally just dropped an hour ago. So it is written by Matt Taibbi, and I think that's dope because Matt usually is on the right side of history. From all of my accounts, he's always getting it right. Very astute political analysis, and so I'm excited to see this. And if it's as good as I believe it is, I will say that I'm happy and appreciative that the Rolling Stone really allowed this to be printed, and understanding that what's happening right now, I don't even have to read the article to know, you're putting yourselves, the Democratic Party, you're putting yourselves in a position to reelect Trump once again. I really think that they're underestimating this. You would think the moment that Bernie by himself had more money than the entire Democratic Party that they would realize this. But it's literally going to take another loss, apparently. So hopefully that isn't the case. But let's see what Matt has to say about this. So, man, they always get the best pictures of Tulsi. Why can't I be that photogenic, man? It's cool, whatever. I'm not going to be mad at it. So, Matt writes, last week, the Daily Beast ran this headline. Tulsi Gabbard's campaign is being boosted by Putin apologists. Apologists of Putin. That was followed by the subheadline. The Hawaiian Congresswoman is quickly becoming the top candidate for Democrats who think the Russian leader is misunderstood. For Democrats, speaking for everybody, by the way. All the Democrats, apparently. The Gabbard campaign received 75,000 individual donations. This Crazy Beast article. Ooh, I like that. Crazy Beast. We're going to have to use that in the future. This Crazy Beast article is based on maybe 3 of them. The 3 names are Professor Stephen Cohen, activist Sharon Tennyson, and someone using the name Goofy Grapes who may or may not have once worked for a comedian, Lee Camp, currently employed by Russia Today. Most of you know Lee Camp from his show Redacted Tonight. The vicious little article might have died a quiet death, except ABC's George Stephanopoulos regurgitated it in an interview with Gabbard days later. The This Week host put up the Beast headline and a question about whether or not Gabbard was softer on Putin than other candidates. Now, I want to add this part. He put up the headline and said nothing about the article. It was just the headline. Like, oh, there's some things in the article that suggest this is a quote. This is a quote. You know why he did that? He did not. He absolutely, listen, y'all. He absolutely did not want to read a headline, quotes from the article that would have ended up making him look ridiculous. Because if you read the article or if you watched my show where I discussed the article, I talked about, I couldn't even get through it. I legitimately could not get through the article because I was laughing too hard because it read like an onion piece. So not only he just in the middle of a prominent interview with a presidential candidate, a military veteran, not even a veteran like who's out, an active duty major in the Army National Guard, currently still makes it to Hawaii for her 2 days out of the month, and at some point she's gonna have to serve her 3 weeks out of the year, and she's very loyal to that. A person who's demonstrated nothing but loyalty and patriotism towards her country, and he tries to smear her as essentially a Russian asset because he tried to do it by a headline. It's disgusting, man. It's disgusting. And I couldn't believe that, I just want to know, at what point do we hold journalists accountable? I'm really trying to understand that. Let's continue to the back to the article. Give me a second. So, Gabbard responded. It's unfortunate that you're reciting that article, George, because it's a whole lot of fake news. And a lot of you probably remember I did a little happy dance whenever she said that, because I wasn't really not expecting her to say fake news, because it's hilarious and ironic. Because, well, also, if you know what the origins of fake news, first of all, it didn't come from Donald Trump. One, it didn't even come from the mainstream media. That's what people would like to have you believe. They would like to have you believe that the term fake news was coined by the liberal media to talk about all the right-wing, quote-unquote, conspiracy theories about Hillary Clinton. That is not where it came from. Where it came from was the progressive wing of the Democratic parties, and just the independent left in general, had decided we were going to call out all the nonsensical, ridiculous articles about Bernie Sanders, and we called those articles and the reporting and the statistics and the polling that they report. That's where the term fake news came from. So this is basically, it seems like Tulsi Gabbard reclaiming that phase for the progressive left, because like I said, that's where they got it from. So, this in turn spurred another round of denunciations, this time in the form of articles finding fault not with the McCarthyite questioning, but with Gabbard's answer. As Politico wrote, fake news is a favorite phrase of Donald Trump. Really? Really? Because now it's a favorite phrase of Donald Trump. Now it's Donald Trump's favorite phrase. Before, but when it was CNN's and MSNBC's favorite phrase, because that's where he got it from. He was using it ironically. Remember the way he said it? It was at that press conference he said, CNN, you are fake news. Because he was mocking them. Because they were calling every single thing that came out that criticized Hillary Clinton, rightfully so, fake news. So, I understand perfectly where Mac's coming from. Soon, CNN writing a similar hit piece saying Gabbard was using a term Trump used to attack the credibility of negative coverage. Okay. CNN even said that Gabbard did not specify what in the article was fake, as if the deceptive and insidious nature of this kind of guilt by association report needs explaining. Not to mention, she was in the middle of a 6-minute interview. A 6-minute interview where when she said that, she was like, I'm not even going to give any credence to it. Because why do I have to explain to y'all the obvious? Luckily, in my humble opinion, I don't think that most people take the Daily Beast seriously at this point. So, continuing. Stephanopoulos shamelessly implied that because I oppose going to war with Russia, I am not a loyal American, but a Putin puppet, Gabbard told Rolling Stone. It just shows what absurd lengths warmongers in the media will go to to try and destroy the reputation of anyone who dares oppose their warmongering. Ooh! Ooh, no, she didn't. No, she did. Yes, she did. No, she did. Yes, she did. Y'all, that's my president. That's my president. Y'all. Oh. Listen, y'all. If y'all know anything about me, y'all know I love a good old swipe at the mainstream, at the military industrial complex, at the establishment, because it rarely comes from our progressives. I hate to say it like that. Not progressives in media. Progressives in media usually that's damn near our career is swiping at them. But our politicians are so terrified by the ability of the mainstream to put out basically unlimited articles and use their unlimited resources to try and smear whoever stands up to them, that they never say anything because they become more worried about their prospects of being elected. They become more worried about their legacy. They become more worried about how people view them than they become about the truth. And Tulsi seems to be one of the only ones who understands this. You know what your legacy will be determined by in 2019 and forward, 2019 and beyond? Your legacy will be determined by how dedicated you are to the truth, especially in the face of adversity, especially when you have anything or everything to gain or to lose. Will you choose the truth over your pride? Will you choose the truth over your ego? Will you choose the people over your legacy? Tulsi rightfully calls Stephanopoulos a warmonger. Rightfully refers to the entire mainstream. I mean, look at who gets look at who gives them funding. Look at who funds them. Boeing, Lockheed Martin. They literally run commercials for these corporations. It says this segment sponsored by Boeing. Oh, why? Because all the airplanes? It's the airplanes. That's what's giving them all that money. Airplanes. It ain't the airplanes that's paying for that coverage. It's not the first class flights that's pushing George Stephanopoulos to smear Tulsi as a Russian asset and trying to push us closer to a nuclear winter. It's they get paid to cause death and destruction, and we should not normalize their evil because they are indeed evil. Understand this. There are evil forces at play, and you know how you can they don't care. George Stephanopoulos, I don't know if he has any kids, but if there's a nuclear winter, he is so wrapped up in reporting what the money tells him to report. The military industrial complex tells him to report. He don't care if his kids are killed in a nuclear winter. I'll be all right. I got money. I'll be all right. I don't know if you can't spend money if all the banks is blown up, George. If society is crippled and brought down to its knees, money doesn't matter, George. You ain't got that kind of money. Some people might got that type of money, but you ain't got that kind of money. But he doesn't care. Because these people are truly sociopathic, and this is why I got a little irritated whenever I saw that Biden or Bernie referred to Biden as his friend. Don't call him your friend. He pushed legislation that gave incentives for putting people in jail, that gave $8.7 billion to create private prisons, that installed hundreds of thousands of cops around the country. That resulted in what eventually became 94% black prison population. Don't call that man your friend. That's only one example. You can call him a colleague, you can call him an acquaintance, but don't call him your friend. That's all I ask. And people get mad, but it's crazy because if I recall, the entire left got mad and scorned Biden when Biden decided to call Pence his friend. But so what's the difference between Pence and Biden? tough on crime. Both advocated for anti-abortion movements at the same time. Both have been for every single war that we've been in. What? So we get mad when Biden calls Pence friend, but we don't get mad when Bernie calls Biden his friend. Do you think that might be a little inconsistent? I'm not saying you gotta be mad and scorn the man, but like if someone's offended by it, because I was indeed offended by it, especially as a victim of the criminal justice system, I don't want to hear white people telling me, "Oh, you're just getting upset." Like, no. Call these motherfuckers what they are. But don't normalize this kind of sociopathic behavior that we've seen from politicians and that we've seen from the media. Period. So, back to the article. In case you're just not tuning in, we are live reacting to this Rolling Stones article that I just released about an hour ago. So, going back to it. All right. Gabbard has had some controversial views, having been raised in a conservative religious home, which is not controversial at all in America, so I don't know why people think that was controversial. Oh, well, he doesn't believe it's real controversial either because he put it in quotations. So I'm guessing Matt feels the exact same way. The daughter of a right-wing radio personality in Hawaii who once described homosexuality as not normal and morally wrong. She later wrote of a political conversion on issues like LGBT rights, but still angered Democrats in the Obama years by invoking an infamous Republican criticism, i.e. that Obama refused to use the term radical Islam. Frankly, all the Democratic presidential candidates have controversial statements in their past. In some cases, boatloads of them. See here, fine. She's exhibit A of a disturbing new media phenomenon that paints people with wrong opinions as not merely controversial, but vehicles of foreign influence. Man, Matt is killing it in this article. Shout out to Matt. This is how they control self-serving politicians whose only concern is their career, Gabbard says. Ooh! Woo! Get them, Tulsi, get this. Unfortunately for them, I am a soldier, not a career politician. Woo! Don't do it to him. Don't do it to him, Tulsi. What'd she say? Hold up. I'm going to read that again. Unfortunately for them, I'm a soldier, not a career politician. Matt goes on to say, a transparent hit piece came out as Gabbard was announcing her run. NBC reported that Russian propaganda machine is, quote unquote, now promoting the presidential aspirations of a controversial Hawaii Democrat. The article, among things, was sourced to New Knowledge, a cyber analysis firm claiming it had caught Russian chatter about Gabbard's usefulness. Alabama race between Doug Jones and Republican Roy Moore. In that incident, the paper got hold of a memo in which the firm admitted it had orchestrated an elaborate false flag operation that planted the idea that the Moore campaign was amplified on social media by a Russian botnet. I don't know if they're gonna. Okay, so they're not gonna talk about it. I don't think so. I'll bring it up real quick. I don't know if you all recall, but this is also the same organization that the United States was it the Intel Committee, not the Judicial Committee, but the Intel Committee was using New Knowledge to determine that Russian bots were hacking the election, or were trying to influence the election on behalf of Russia. Yeah, the same New Knowledge. What a coincidence. I'm sure that shouldn't have any implications on the credibility of the Senate Intel Committee and their findings. I'm sure that shouldn't have any implications whatsoever. Let's continue. For NBC to use new knowledge as a source after this was bad enough. The Daily Beast piece, something beyond rhetorically. Even during the depths of war on terror hysteria, we didn't see Fox headlines stating John Kerry, top candidate of people who think bin Laden is misunderstood. The tactic of making lists of thought criminals first reappeared a few years ago when the shadowy Proper Not group was profiled in the Washington Post. In this case, the definition of what the Daily Beast calls people pushing the Russian government line overlaps the views of that are not merely anti-interventionists or anti-war. This is interesting because my experiences with Proper Not on Twitter have been that they are co-opted by the Democratic establishment. Maybe I'm crazy, unless I read that wrong. It says that one of those groups, a group that insists on public anonymity, which issued a report identifying more than 200 websites, in its view, wittingly or unwittingly published or echoed Russian propaganda. So I don't know what Proper Not used to be, but I caught them literally smearing Tulsi Gabbard, like smearing her. So I'm not sure if that's changed lately or what could have changed. Maybe they have decided that they're going to exclusively support Bernie. But it's weird to me that they went and made such a huge 180-degree turn. And I'm sure a lot of people who have interacted with Proper Not on Twitter probably feel the same way. So let's continue. The tactic of making... They smear anyone who is against regime change wars, Gabbard says. Where the lie at? Where is the lie at? There ain't none. There ain't none. Tulsi's correct. This applies really to all of the people mentioned in the Beast piece. Even Lee Camp, the homie, who's mentioned, I'm going to assume that is, because this will not leave me alone, is also ridiculous because it's not 100% clear Goofy Grapes even has a connection to him. And if he does, are we in guilt? Are we in guilt by association land now? Well, Matt, you've been paying attention over the last 2 to 3 years. You know damn well we've already been in guilt by association by not being associated enough land at this point. That's kind of where we've been at for the last 3 years. Tennyson belongs to a type I saw a lot of in Russia, i.e. people who grew up under the shadow of nuclear conflict and perceived bad relations between the U.S. and the Soviet Union to be the world's biggest threat to security. This was a big progressive craze in the Reagan-Bush years, when people like CNN founder Ted Turner were creating the made for détente goodwill games. Tennyson has a long history of such friendship activities and is said to have brought AA to Russia. Alcoholics Anonymous? Oh, that's interesting. Ree Cohen, if accepting a check from him is now a treasonous offense, a lot of Democrats are going to have to send money back. I've known Steve a long time, and though we've had disagreements, outlets like The Beast have frequently villainized him for saying things any Russian expert would know are true, like the U.S. meddled in Russian affairs after the Soviet collapse, particularly in 1996. For those of you who do not know, that is around the time that all the Eastern Bloc were being granted or denied accession into the EU. That's where now all that started. I believe it was in 1992 specifically. And so in order to maintain control of Eastern Europe, and especially the Turkey area, because of its that's the country that borders the Middle East. the U.S. tried to take control. Hell, we've been trying to assert dominance over that area for quite some time. And I don't know if y'all remember this, but Obama invested like $52 billion in like military operations in Eastern Europe, like his last year of elections, I believe, or his last year as president. So, yeah. So just for saying a factual statement that all international entities would agree on, and he's done this plenty of times, Cohen is a Russian asset, as a Russian expert. God forbid anybody, that's what I'm saying, people. If you imagine someone saying, like, what if Cohen probably wouldn't be an expert in African American studies, but like replace that. He's an expert in African American studies, and Cohen discusses, maybe we're talking about Nixon era, right? Cohen discusses how Nixon purposely put drugs in the community, said that the war on drugs specifically was a war on black people and hippies because of the anti-imperialist, anti-war movement going on in both of those communities, and Nixon was just a blatant and open racist. And that would be considered treasonous. Now, to be honest with you, at that point back then, actually every black leader was considered a communist. So but that's how ridiculous it was then. So we can compare now, like if you replace the word Russia with African American, Jewish, woman, I don't know, any marginalized group, any group that is not your own, not the dominant group in this particular country, it would probably be considered xenophobic or bigoted. But because of McCarthyism and neo-McCarthyism, people just throw the word Russia out. Like, that's cool that we just label people the enemy based off of nothing but their country of origin or, anybody's association to that particular country. The other anti-interventionist candidate, Bernie Sanders, had his own gross press misadventures as of late. Sanders joins Gabbard in having been tabbed a Kremlin project countless times in 2016. Trust me, I was there. I remember, Matt. The latest New York Times piece about quote-unquote left-wing activism of Sanders hovers around his dreary foreign subversion theme. The headline revelation was about a trip Sanders made to Managua in the 80s, where he may have attended a rally. The Times explained at the anniversary celebration, a Wire report described a chant rising up, "Hey there, everywhere, the Yankee will die." In a subsequent interview, the Times writer Sidney Ember Sanders responded, when asked about this, "They were fighting against American." Yes. What is your point? He then noted he didn't remember that particular chant. This is really silly gotcha journalism, especially since it's not clear what language the chant was in. Ember asked Sanders if he would have stayed at the rally if he'd heard that directly. What? Oh my God. This is pathetic. Elsewhere, she asked why Sanders once said the Soviets had good public transportation system and free health care. What? She asked Sanders why he once said the Soviets had good publication or good public transportation and free health care. I don't know, maybe because the Soviets had at the time good public transportation and free health care. I don't know, maybe that was why he said it. Oh my God, they're so trash. Anyway, if he believed that he had an accurate view of the Nicaraguan leader, Daniel Ortega, given what we know about what America does in South America. I don't know. I actually don't know that much about Nicholas Ortega or Daniel Ortega. I said Nicholas. And I'm probably gonna do some more research about him now, because the truth is, he was probably like every other democratic socialist or socialist progressive leader, the ones especially that go unknown or undiscussed in our history books, that was literally just trying to bring healthcare, desegregate their country, and just doing what he could for his people. So Sanders at first didn't respond. I was short with the reporter as he explained the context of decades of American interventionism in Chile, Guatemala, and other South American countries. He tried to explain that his view was, I'm assuming, irrelevant, because he was really protesting the policy of his view of Ortega was irrelevant because he was really protesting the policy of intervention, not supporting a foreign leader. The whole episode was a Back to the Future version of the same criticism leveled at anyone who opposed regime change in Venezuela today. If you protest the policy, you're not anti-war. You must support the targeted foreign leader. This was not about Ortega. Do you understand? Whew! Snappy Bernie. Everybody loves Snappy Bernie. His curt response inspired author and Times journalist Jill Filipovic to write that Sanders was shockingly rude. Oh my. Why is it that every time Bernie asserts himself, and when he's being smeared and a woman just happens to be in the nearby vicinity, he's rude, he's racist, he's flippant. Like, they come up with every single generalized statement that you could think of because, well, they can't actually describe in detail why what he did was supposedly rude, and nor will they actually say why it was perfectly okay for him to respond the way he did, because if you want to respond like, or you want to ask me dumbass questions, I'm gonna treat you like a dumbass. That's how I feel about it too. So I'm 100% in Bernie's corner there, and it's irritating for me, like, every single time. If you don't want to be treated like an idiot, don't act like one. It's pretty simple. Especially because Bernie is way more than patient with the mainstream. Let's be honest. More than we like at this point. So let's be real about that. We already have a president who attacks the press, condescends, and refuses to answer questions he deems stupid. They just tried to associate Bernie Sanders and Trump. So that's twice. Both of the progressives in the race, they tried to loosely associate Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump. And once again, let's be honest. Bernie has not attacked the press. I wish Bernie would attack the damn press. I really wish that Bernie would attack the press. But he doesn't. That's his choice. I don't necessarily agree with it all the time, but that's his choice. So asserting that Bernie somehow, because he stood up for himself, because he refused to allow you to walk all over him in that particular regard, it's a smear trying to say that he won't attack, because he does not attack the press. In fact, he literally defends the press at times. So, by the way, like the video if you have not yet. Greatly appreciate it. If you are just now joining, we're nearing the end of the article. Bernie Sanders is not Trump. Neither is Tulsi Gabbard, nor anyone else but Trump for that matter. That's for damn sure. And it's a preposterous take. It's worse than fake news. It is self-fulfilling news. In 2004, Howard Dean was asked repeatedly if he was too far left or too liberal in campaign stops. You would see lines like addressing concerns that he is too liberal to be president in coverage. It was nearly a mandatory preamble to the Dean stories. And I remember that, actually. And I remember reading about it, I should say. It was my freshman year in high school when that happened. It was when I first started debate. I was kind of confused. I was like, how do you be too liberal? I was talking to my debate coach about that. I was like, how can you be too liberal? What do they mean? And he was like, it's too advanced for you at this point. I was like 15 years old. So now 15-year-olds are more astute than most 30-year-olds, which is great. On the trail, I watched Dean take in these questions. Over time, you could almost hear his teeth grind grind at the words like left or liberal. Eventually, he did start to flip out. When he did, suddenly, his testy demeanor and combative finger thrusting style earned write-ups of their own, culminating in the campaign-ending Dean Scream story. Reporting once revealed in the power to make or break candidates with this or these circular, quasi-invented narratives. These smear jobs don't work the same they once did. Trump in 2016 clearly used impatience with media tactics as part of his strategy. The more he brought trail reporters into stump speeches by calling us things like bloodsuckers, enemies of the people, didn't come until later, the better he did with crowds. Why? Because everybody at least agrees that the mainstream media is trash. So reporters refuse to see it, but the national media now lives on the unpopularity spectrum somewhere between botulism and in Congress. While some of that is undeserved, some of it isn't. A lot of it isn't, let me add. Voters especially resent being told who is and isn't an acceptable choice by a press corps increasingly seen as part of a corrupt and condescending political establishment. I wonder why. Stories like Tulsi Gabbard is the top candidate of traitors, represent exactly the kind of thing people hate about the commercial press as an institution. This scarlet letter backfired badly in 2016, but we're doing more of it this time around, not less. Don't be surprised if it ends badly again. So, that was an absolutely fantastic article by Matt. That was a fantastic article. And I think that really quick, it does illustrate a couple of key points that I want to address before we go. One, so there's this argument that Bernie shouldn't stand up for certain people and that Tulsi has free reign because they believe that because he's the front runner, he shouldn't speak out. And because Tulsi is not polling as the front runner, and now all of a sudden people believe polls. It's weird how people believe polls all of a sudden. Because I'm honest about polling across the board, and you can watch any of my videos. I'll tell people straight up, like I did a video the other day, Bernie is polling in Iowa. He's supposedly tied with Biden at 24% of support. No, any Bernie poll you see at this point in time, you got to add 10 to 20 points to that poll. That is not an exaggeration, and that's because of what we have seen in the past consistently when it comes to Bernie's performance in a particular state, in a particular area with a particular demographic, compared to where they thought he was going to perform because they used purposely skewed polling methods. And then with Tulsi, they think, but they're okay with the logic that Bernie's doing better than the polls say when it comes to Bernie. But with Tulsi, they always say she has no chance of winning. Look at the polls. It's stupid. Let me explain to you why. Because the Daily Beast doesn't do hit pieces about Kirsten Gillibrands. They don't do hit pieces about Julian Castro's. You catch my drift? In other words, the people polling, Kirsten Gillibrand is less than Tulsi right now, but the people polling around the same area, the same sphere as Tulsi, they don't have hit pieces written about them, which probably means she's doing much better than they're portraying her to. Now, she does have a long way to climb. I mean, it's the Democrats. Come on, nobody's naive. But it does in Matt's illustrations, in my opinion, it illustrates an important point. Bernie's going to be smeared regardless. He is being smeared as we speak. Somebody right now is writing a hit piece. Tulsi is going to be smeared regardless. Somebody right now is writing a hit piece. Both of them are going to be smeared. So why play their game? Why play their game? Why legitimize these journalists and whatever nonsense they try to push after they keep being disproven over and over and over again, and not stand up for people like Julian Assange? It serves you no good. At that point, Bernie, by not supporting Julian Assange strategically, can only lose support. The people who weren't going to vote for Bernie before that incident are not voting for him because he didn't say anything. However, there were a lot of people that were going to vote for Bernie and immediately changed their mind because they were already on the fence about whether or not he was going to play ball with the establishment. They were already on the fence about that. So strategically, it was just not a good move. So what I would love to see more of going forward with Bernie is for him to call out the establishment, for him to defend things that don't require political calculation, and there shouldn't be the decision of whether or not to support a particular policy or talk about a particular policy or situation. Certain situations should never be considered. Like there should never be any political calculation considered. With Assange, with Chelsea Manning, with Edward Snowden, with the situation in Venezuela, with the situation in Iran, no political calculation is necessary for you to say, nope, hell no. At a certain point, you have to stand for something or you will absolutely fall for anything. So I would love to see that going forward, because I think that would better solidify his chances of having people coalesce around him in case he is cheated in this primary. Because the people who were hardcore fighting for him aren't necessarily like the go-getters, the worker bees, the people who are in the streets leading the rallies, organizing these rallies. The worker bees are not necessarily as staunchly behind him as they once were, because many people are unsure if he would do the same now. So I don't want him to suffer because he keeps giving credence to mainstream journalism or this idea that he has something to lose. When you're the front runner with 15 million, $15 million, people. You ain't got shit to lose. You got all the monies. The moment that he says, we must free Assange, we must free Chelsea Manning, I would bet anybody's dollar that his donations go up that day. I bet money on it. And the what Matt laid out in that article proves that. It also shows that Tulsi calling them out, calling the mainstream out, and being attacked in a very similar way as Bernie is being attacked, obviously. And other progressives, Mike Gravel hasn't been attacked as much because, they're just going to try to keep him out the debates, unfortunately. They shouldn't. Go donate to Mike if you have not, by the way. It also illustrates that in their mind, Tulsi is, as you keep using the argument, Tulsi isn't a threat. Tulsi doesn't have a chance of winning. So why do they keep going after Tulsi? It was like when they said Trump isn't a threat, Trump has no chance of winning. So why do they keep going after Trump? Because the polls that you see, anyone who works in Washington will tell you, the polls that you see are not the polls that they first see. I promise you. When I reported that Trump was at 56% and growing on the economy as far as the support from both the Democrats and Republicans, that the Russiagate narrative was like only 40% of Democrats at that point That was 2 years ago, 2017. Only 20% of Democrats believed in the Russiagate collusion theory. And less even cared about it. They wanted to move on. The ratings dropped. I was telling people these, and people thought I was crazy, but luckily, shout out to you know who you are. He was giving me some accurate information, because look what happened. Look what happened. And the polling numbers, the real polling numbers, only came out right around the end of October, if you all recall, because they were terrified that they were going to lose by large numbers in the midterms. So, like, you can't use the poll to justify, or you can't use the logic to justify that Bernie is being screwed in the polls, and then use the same logic by saying, well, Tulsi has no chance of winning. It makes no sense. Why would you be spending all this money, all this man and woman power, all this labor on a woman who is not a threat to you? Y'all let me know. I would love to know why. Seriously. And so it's important that Tulsi and Bernie both coordinate. You know, they don't got to announce to the world, but they have to coordinate a strike against the mainstream. That includes the Democratic politicians. And I think that Bernie should break. He needs to cut ties with Liz. Liz Warren is this woman just wrote a whole media article the other day about how the military can help in climate change. Yeah, nah, Liz ain't it. Liz ain't it. But she has to justify, because she knows her support for the military-industrial complex will inevitably be brought up. We do our research. You know I do mine. So, like, it's about that time, Bernie. Cut ties. You need to have a coordinated effort, both you and Tulsi, that constantly reminds the crowd, the voters, because it's not just Democrats voting in this election. I don't know how many times I have to say this. 30 to 35 open or semi-open primary states. It's not just Democrats who will determine the outcome of this election. Period, point blank. So there needs to be a coordinated effort to take on the establishment, but not just take on the establishment, but it needs to be known that you're taking on the establishment on behalf of the people. You're taking on the establishment on behalf of the people, because you can't cheer on or legitimize CNN and simultaneously be on the side of the people. You can't. They are mutually exclusive. So I would love to know what your thoughts are about this. Leave a comment leave a comment in the comment section below. Leave a link in the description, or I'll leave the link to the article in the description, because I usually don't promote mainstream articles because I don't want to give them no clicks. They already get enough money. I don't give them no more. But it's my man Matt, so I got him. I'm gonna put Matt in the description so y'all know what article it is, and definitely encourage you all to share that everywhere. I want to give a huge shout out to Matt Taibbi. Awesome article. I mean, you summed it up. They keep treating Tulsi and Bernie like this. They keep it up. Trump 2020 is going to be what happens. I'm telling you. Those type of predictions I don't like being right about, but still. So thank you all so much, people, for tuning into that live stream segment of Mi Casa Es Tu Casa. Be back in about 20 minutes. So don't go too far. Share this video. Subscribe if you have not. And always remember, more than anything else, people, find your balance. Peace.